Hello everyone, my name is I have a variety of different hobbies, but one of them is cosplay making, and I like to make cosplays and do, you know, things of that sort. Um, so in this video, I will go over the process of how I made Liliana Vess's corset. One of the things that was very interesting about this project is that there are a lot of different iterations. Anyone who's played Magic the Gathering knows that Liliana, there's a lot of cards of Liliana. But I decided to go with one, I think it was from 2019. I'll put the picture at some point in the video, maybe just even now. But yeah, there's a lot of iterations, and one of the biggest challenges was actually taking it from artwork to like an actual physical thing. But that's why I just decided to just go ahead and hit the ground running. The first step was to go ahead and get the pattern. Sadly, I don't have any footage of this, but basically I wrapped my girlfriend in saran wrap for torso area and then put blue painter's tape over it and kind of marked out where I needed to put that and where the panels would kind of go. And then I went ahead and traced that onto paper, just regular paper, printer paper. And from there I was able to just kind of put all the pieces together and get like a rough overview of how big it was going to be. Afterward, it was finding the correct fabric type, which was cotillo or cotillo. I'm pretty sure it's cotillo. But if I'm wrong, well, you guys can go ahead and correct me on that. We then went ahead and cut them. Never really worked with this fabric before. It was very strong and it was very durable, which is exactly what I needed for a corset. Actually, a very helpful video that I watched to kind of get everything I needed to know was a video by Sarah Spaceman that kind of outlined what to do on your first corset. And it really much goes over pretty much everything. The only thing I wasn't able to get was the whale boning, but I mean, besides that, everything was pretty easily accessible. Once I had all the patterns cut out and made sure that they were right, and also labeled because a lot of them kind of look the same, it was time to then sew. I sewed incredibly slow because these have to be precise, because these are going to be the channels where the boning is going to go in. So I took my time and I was just really careful with this. If you're going to do something like this, it's best that, you also kind of be careful. That way you have enough on both sides to then add I believe it's called twill tape, and make those boning channels. At least that's how I did it. An important part of this project too is going ahead and opening the seams on the back with an iron. That way you have a flat surface to attach the twill tape. That way you can later attach the boning. So that's what I'm doing here. I honestly forgot, but you do have to add a waist tape. That way the waist doesn't go ahead and loosen over time. So this is just some ribbon. And then finally, it's time for the boning channels. This part you have to be careful because you don't want to accidentally close the boning channel by not being careful or doing something. So this part is tedious, but it's also when I think the corset finally starts to look semi like a corset and not just a bunch of fabric scraps. So, my girlfriend and I are really into Magic the Gathering. I started playing around Strixhaven, so a couple years ago. And then she started playing around the time Bloomborough came out. She started playing just so that I can have someone to play with, because a lot of times I would have decks and test them on my own. But, yeah, I'm afraid that she got really good at it. And her first, I guess, commander deck was Miss Bumbleflower. And I think anyone who's played that really knows what that deck is capable of. And it doesn't help that I got a lot of cards that made that deck a lot better. So I upgraded it to the point where it was pretty good. And so after that, when Tarkir Dragonstorm came out, she got the Teamer Roar, and that one's also pretty bad. So she's actually a menace at the table, and it's funny. It's very fun to see those interactions go along. But yeah, that's pretty much one of the things that I thought was fun. It's pretty nice here. So this is me with all of the boning channels finally done after a long time. And yeah, you know, it's pretty sturdy. The cotillo is pretty sturdy. And I was pretty surprised about that. Due to the nature of the corset, it's very weird and spiraling. I'll show a picture somewhere here. But, yeah, we decided to, well, no, not we. I decided to go ahead and try to modify the plans. I only have one template, so I have to be very careful with it. But, yeah, I think what we should do is just go ahead and start modifying this. I don't imagine it being too bad. Future Brawler here. It was pretty bad. But then again, might be a little bit difficult to, you know, get all the complex shapes and put it all together. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on. So I pretty much started by putting all of the templates together and then kind of doing a rough outline of what the shapes are going to be like. Once I did this, I was able to come up with, you know, the paneling that I needed, kind of everything, kind of how I thought it was supposed to go. And I ended up with something like this, which was a lot of pieces. And it was pretty intricate. But yeah, so this is the picture. And yeah, cutting each one and doing each one was a process, to say the least. This thing had to be done in multiple different passes, and what I mean is on the inside there is I don't remember what the material is called, but there is a layer of that, and then on the outside it's like the harder fabric. On the outside there is this satin that I picked up, and if you can tell, there's like 4 different purples going on. There's this bottom section that really is just a tiny section. There's this purple, which I want to say it's the main purple. There's a purple that goes on the side, which does the spiral here. And then there is this middle purple. And they're all different purples. And they'll have to be used at different times. But, and then there's like this little bit of gold, and then there's just this string. But that's pretty much it. The build, it was kind of difficult, I'm not gonna lie. But it did turn out really good. The only thing I have left to do is just sew on these flaps to where I want them. One of the most tedious parts was cutting out the material, but it had to be done. Just had to make sure that I did all the right sides and I cut all the patterns that were that specific color. After that, I started sewing each panel together. I sewed each panel first, and then I sewed the panels together. This was because I needed the shape to line up, like the purples to line up. If not, it was gonna look kind of strange, and so I had to be very careful with this, and it did take a while to get everything lined up correctly, but I think the end product did look good, so it was worth the effort. Afterwards, I think this was one of the most complex parts, was getting the gold trim on the inner flaps. So I had to be careful. I used a lot of pins to make sure it was exactly where I wanted it to be. Even then, they didn't completely match up, but they matched up for the most part. Remember how I said there was 4 different purples? This is the bottom purple, or like on the sides of the panels, on the bottom, that very tiny strip. This is what this purple is. So it was just cutting and then sewing this part on. And then this is yet another purple. It's the middle purple, and like the lace that goes on it, just to make it seem like the picture. It was a little bit of a process, but we got through it. Nothing too bad. Once we finished the front panel and put it all together, now we had the front and the back panel. This was great, but now it was time to put them both together. Once I To do this, I went ahead and first sewed the bottom part. I thought that would be the easiest. So I sewed the bottom all together. Had to be careful with like the two flaps in the front, but besides that, it was not that bad. Afterwards, I went ahead and sewed the two sides, so like the backs, I guess you can call it. The outermost edges, I guess you can say. And then I went in and I was able to put all the steel boning and the plastic boning, and I did have to change this afterwards because a lot of it was better if it was a plastic one, and it was just a lot. But for the time being, I thought that one was going to be it, so I put in the boning before sealing it up, and then I went ahead and sealed it up and turned it inside out, and I had pretty much, for the most part, the majority of the corset complete. Another important part was putting on the actual rivets. Funny enough, we had to wait for rivets to come in because I have the riveting machine, but I ran out of rivets and I had to wait for them to come in. But this is me and my girlfriend installing them, and it was interesting. The next part was a little bit more difficult. It was making like the bra pieces, and this one was difficult. My first iteration and my first go at it were not good. I've never made anything like this before. I never tried anything like this before, so I kind of went based on what I would believe they would look like, and it was a complete failure. I mean, complete. It didn't look good, it didn't do anything. And so I went back to the drawing board and I found a template for a corset top, and I used that template as something to like be able to use, and it did look a lot better. Had to unsew the other one, re-sew, and make sure everything lined up well, and I think finally that was it. So yeah, that was the process of how I made this corset. If you stuck around till the end, thank you for watching the whole process, and I hope you learned something from it. I'm very proud that I was able to accomplish this and finish it. It was something that I never done before, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. As you can see, I really like how it came together. I was able to sew on the front flaps now with little like clip things or button things. Yeah, I really like how the back looks, really like how it all looks. And yeah, well, I'm not done. I know I still need like the fabric that goes here. That's what I'm gonna be working on next. My girlfriend's helping me out and hopefully finish that embroidery pattern so we can embroider it and get it on here. And then, yeah. If you like this video, please click like. And if you want to stick around to see how this looks at the end, consider subscribing. Thank you.